Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ambassadors, executives, advisors, and special guests, and welcome to this lecture of the Digital University of the G17 University Ambassadors Consortium. I'm Menasha, your host for the evening, and we are beyond excited to have this global fraternity of change makers here with us to embark on this knowledge-driven journey. I would kindly ask all of the participants, except the speaker, to mute your mics so that we can have an uninterrupted session this evening, this morning, this afternoon, from wherever you are joining across the world. As you all know, and for those who do not, the G17 University Ambassadors Consortium is a global undergraduate platform initiated by the Road to Rights, a youth-led organization with its ultimate vision to achieve the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development within the university community, with over 2,000 ambassadors to date from 15 different countries from 5 different continents. G17 is dedicated towards empowering university undergraduates on sustainable development goals and to become the next generation of young professionals and to make the SDGs a reality through its 4 pillars: capacity building, leadership, policy advocacy, and action. To give a small idea about today's session, we will be dedicating a large portion of this session to our guest speaker. And we will also be opening up the floor for a moderated Q&A session led by Mr. Ashan Pereira, founder of Road to Rights and the G17 University Ambassadors Consortium, and before we conclude the session. And now it is my privilege to introduce our esteemed guest speaker for our 3rd module on the human rights education in creating sustainable development in the world. Her name is Dr. Mary Shuttleworth, and she was born and raised in apartheid South Africa, where she saw firsthand the devastating effects of discrimination and the lack of basic human rights. As a teenager, she traveled extensively throughout Europe, where she saw discrimination and realized that issues of human rights reached far beyond the borders of her own country. She also realized that education was the long-term solution in improving these conditions, and therefore embraced the moniker of educator. Dr. Shuttleworth earned her doctorate in education leadership and change from Fielding Graduate University. In 2001, she formed the nonprofit corporation Youth for Human Rights International to teach youth about human rights, and specifically the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Since 2003, Dr. Shuttleworth has advocated tirelessly to raise awareness about inhumane trafficking of persons and the important role of human rights education in curbing this global scourge at conferences and workshops across the world in countries including Australia, Colombia, India, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Nepal, Nigeria, South Africa, Switzerland, and the USA. Dr. Shuttleworth has literally circled the globe annually since 2004, visiting more than 90 countries. During the World Peace Summit for Nobel Peace Laureates, she was honored with the Summit Medal of Recognition for Social Activism. Her actions in forwarding the cause of human rights have been covered by local, national, and international media. She is also one of the mentors of Mr. Ashan Pereira, the founder of G17 University Ambassadors Consortium, as well as Road to Rights. On behalf of the G17 Consortium, I would like to thank you and appreciate how much effort you have put to be with us for this session, this evening, this morning, this afternoon, wherever you are joining in, and to take time to teach and educate our young change makers on human rights. Dr. Shuttleworth, I will not take any more of your time, and it is my privilege to open the floor for you. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Menasha. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. I don't see myself on the screen, so I'm not sure if this is correct. Please tell me if it is fine, if I should just proceed.
It's fine now, Dr. Shuttleworth.
Okay, very good. So hello to everybody. It's so exciting to be part of this. Ashan, congratulations on the excellent work you're doing with G17 and reaching so many young students in 15 countries, I believe. So this is a huge undertaking. Congratulations, and congratulations to you all. Wonderful to speak with you. As Menasha pointed out, I have personally traveled 17 times around the world to more than 90 countries. And it's because I absolutely love meeting the youth, especially the students, to meet and chat face to face, discuss issues and so on. So I really hope that this session is not going to be me giving you a great big lecture, but I'll give a brief introduction, and then after that, it would be wonderful if we can exchange some ideas, and I'd love to hear from you as well. So let me get started here. I was born and raised in a country where discrimination was the law and enforced by law. So you can imagine what that could be like to, by law, have to discriminate. As a young girl, I could see that this made no sense to me. I had an amazing father. Unfortunately, he's passed on, but he was a lawyer. He was a scientist, but also a lawyer. And as a lawyer, it would not be possible for him to share with us, to talk to us about his ideas of the political situation that was going on at the time, because I'm sure you understand, in that sort of legal situation, well, he would quickly be disappeared, especially as a lawyer. So he was brilliant, and he made it possible for us to go and visit in the rural communities and interact with, on the farms where we were out of the limelight and so on. And so I had this, as a youngster, I had this opportunity to just interact. I mean, we were not aware of what was going on. But so we had these opportunities to just play, here's a ball, here's some sandwiches, go and play. And so having that as a background of interacting and getting to know these kids, I mean, we were just playing with any kids, discrimination. Let me back up a little bit. When we started Youth Human Rights, the very first exercise we did, the very first program we did, was we asked youth from around the world to send in essays answering the question, what do human rights mean to me? And one of the essays just stood out. It was a young child, and he had been discriminated, being bullied severely by his classmates. And he ended his essay with a simple sentence: discrimination was not born in the heart of a child. That was just profound. And for all these, we've been doing this now for decades, and that one sentence to me summarizes it all. So as a young girl, I had this wonderful opportunity to simply play, simply get to know, whichever children were there. We didn't see color, we didn't see this, we didn't know, And so that laid the foundation for me, the interaction with different people from different backgrounds. That honestly laid an incredible foundation for me. It's one of the most profound lessons that my dad taught us without teaching, without saying anything. He just said, well, there's a ball, there's some sandwiches, go and play. And then growing up and going to school, I said, but where, what's going on here? What's happening? Where are my friends? Where are all the friends that we were playing with? And that's slowly, I realized what was going on. And I realized, the devastating effects of discrimination. And yes, that became my passion. It still is my passion today. And that's what I do. And that is simply, let's agree. Let's find what we can agree on and then build from there. And that's where the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights is so valuable, because the document was signed in 1948, as you all know. I know that I'm speaking to well-educated youth here. And now there's 193 countries that are members of the United Nations. That means that if you're looking at discrimination and you're interested from a global perspective, then you want to say, well, okay, so we don't agree with discrimination. What do we agree with? And that's where having a definition for human rights becomes extremely valuable, especially when 193 countries theoretically have agreed to this definition of human rights. Now, let me just say right up front, there is not a single country in the world where human rights are perfect. If there is, please tell me. I would love to hear, because I think that's a great place for me to go and retire. I have many gray hairs. So we have to go from the point of view of human rights is not perfect anywhere, but 193 countries have agreed to these human rights. But there's this big but. Now, when I've traveled, as I said, I love speaking with youth, educators. I'm a teacher, so education is always at the forefront for me. And I've always been interested to know, so what are human rights? Do you want human rights? I mean, everybody puts up their hands. I haven't yet found a student that hasn't put up their hands. Of course, we want human rights. And then I like to give the offer, the mic to the students. And many of them are law students. I mean, different areas of studies. Offer them the mic. Well, come up to the podium and come and tell all these fellow students of yours, how many human rights are there and what are they? I mean, you've all agreed that you want human rights, but what are they? And I have, usually all the hands go down and the students sit back. They don't want me to ask them because they don't want to be embarrassed. And even meeting with high-level officials, ministers of education, chiefs of police even, I mean, top people, and these are good people. Believe me, they know I'm traveling to teach human rights. The people that meet me are generally very good, wonderful people just wanting to help their communities. But even they are not able to just say, oh, yes, sure, there's, by the way, there's 30 human rights, and, well, I don't know them all, but, there's this and this and this and this. Now, here again, we're not looking at the constitutions of the various countries. We're looking at what are the universal human rights that were agreed upon by the United Nations in 1948, and since then, 193 countries. So we're looking at universally, what are the human rights? So that gives us a common platform. The world today, as you know, I mean, look at us, we're speaking 15 countries on a Zoom platform. The world is diverse. It's no longer small areas with isolated people. We're all interconnected. So this document, these 30 human rights, becomes so valuable because it doesn't matter which country you go to, because that's pretty much all the countries in the world. So it doesn't matter which countries you go to, theoretically, those are the 30 human rights. So it gives a tremendous platform for building relations, for starting to improve conditions, for revisiting the laws and seeing, well, do our respective countries, do the constitutions agree with this? Are we seeing that? Do the laws agree with that? And start moving in that direction, because ultimately, we're never going to go back into individualized, isolated communities. So we have to learn, how do we interact? You are all at the cusp of your lives, your adventures, what you're going to do in the world to make a difference and to improve conditions. And thinking from the point of view of universal, and by the way, totally respecting cultures and the rich diversity that we all have. We should embrace those. We should celebrate those. I'm talking about the basic human rights, like don't discriminate. The right to an education, basic human rights that basically are, for the most part, universal, but unfortunately, we still see issues of bullying. Actually, I haven't been to a single school where there haven't been issues of bullying. For whatever reasons, I call them the two, TOO. It's you're too short, too tall, too this, too that, too rich, too poor, too. I call them the twos, not TWO, but TOO. So discrimination is a huge issue around the world. And if we want to deal with discrimination, even within our own families, the first thing to do is to try and find something we can agree on and start building on that. And none of us are perfect. We all have things to change, things to improve. This is not about being perfect at the get-go. But if we don't know what it is we're striving toward, how will we ever get there? So it gives us a roadmap. And that's why I love speaking with students, because you guys are all of you are you're designing your own trajectories, your own roads, your own paths, your own, what do you see? What is your goal? But those 30 human rights are like, we could say that they are like, if we were on an ocean and we had a lighthouse, so we could always judge whatever we're doing. We can judge that. We can relate. Okay, how far is the boat from the lighthouse? Are we about to hit the rocks, or are we in safe territory? So by really focusing on these 30 human rights, it helps us to navigate that boat. Are we getting closer to those human rights? Are we getting further from the human rights? Are we about, as I said, to hit the rocks? It's such a wonderful tool for all of you to use, to really know, but really know. It's no good to say, okay, let me know my human rights, and there's 30 of them. Listen, I'm a teacher. You can teach 30 things to almost anybody. Okay, so it's not a challenge of just simply memorizing them. The idea is to understand them, figure it out, take a look. There's this human right. Okay, how does this relate to my life? Have I seen it? Could we make it better? Maybe we should change the 30 human rights, but have that you yourself personally really inspect that lighthouse, really inspect that core that it has the power to unite us, to make it easier for us to interact, we all want we want success. We want success for ourselves. We want success for our families. We want success for our communities. I haven't yet met anybody who doesn't. I'm sure there's a few, but I haven't met them. So, you know, we really, the more we succeed, the more everybody succeeds, the more we succeed. When people are at war, you can hardly think of anything other than just how you can survive today. Are you going to be safe today? Can you go outside? You know, we just went through a horrible pandemic. You know, these are difficult situations. But if we just keep looking at those 30 human rights as this little, you know, lighthouse, and keep steering whichever path we're doing, we just steer it according to that, knowing that if all of us just keep whatever we're planning to do, just bear those in mind, try to work with those, in harmony with those, to the best of our abilities. As I said, none of us are perfect. Life is difficult. It comes up with challenges, and sometimes difficult challenges to face. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a background of who I am, where I came from, and my ideas about the importance of a very simple, but not written in easy language, but a basic document called the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So I think that the best thing to do now is to show you a little bit about the materials that we use to do that. We are a nonprofit organization, and we've developed materials. It's available free of charge online, and you can do a course so that you can learn, you know, in an easy way, this document. When I first read the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, I had 3 big dictionaries. It's not an easy document to read. So we've worked to simplify it, not in any way trying to change it, but to simply depict it. So how do we explain this important but challenging document to a 10-year-old? How do we explain it to that child? So that's what we've tried to do. So we've created booklets, we've created lesson plans for teachers, we've created little videos, and then, of course, we've got the online course, and we're going to give you the URL of that, but let me give it to you here. You can just write it down. It's www.youth4humanrights.org. And then you just click on the course. It's free of charge, won't take you very long. You are all students, so I know it won't take you very long to do that. And I think it'll give you a basic concept from which to start your own journey on understanding this document, internalizing it, see how does this apply, and you know, how can this document serve as a valuable lighthouse for you on your journey as you create and this exciting life that's ahead of you, yeah, I hope that these materials will be very valuable for you. Now, before we go into those materials, I'm just going to give you some additional information here. So we took this Universal Declaration of Human Rights, created all of these materials for you. But that's just the beginning of the story. I know that I'm speaking to an educated team here. So besides this curriculum, all these materials, just about this one document, there's a whole nother world to be learned. After this document was signed into existence and so on, they realized that these are universal. So this is from when the child is born until from birth to death, basically. This is for everybody at all times throughout their lives. So, but what about children? Children also have these rights, but they have additional needs. How are we going to address that? And that's where UNICEF came about. And UNICEF came up with the rights of the child, Convention on the Rights of the Child. Wonderful. And they've done fantastic work, very important work, especially when you think in terms of once the child is now no longer considered a child, but is an adult, as long as you also always teach the Universal Declaration, because that's for everybody, everywhere, anytime. Okay. And then what about people with disabilities? Well, they need certain rights over and above those universal rights. And so the documents, conventions were drawn up for people with disabilities, for indigenous communities, etc., because those are specific needs that have to be addressed if we want to be humane, if we because we care, because it's important. So we have a second whole set of lessons, complete curricula, everything, and that's we call United for Human Rights, and you can find it on our website. And but I just wanted you to know, because I know that I'm dealing with, some scholars here. So we've got this Youth for Human Rights, which focuses specifically on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And then we've got United for Human Rights, which deals not in detail, but on several of the other instruments that are out there, organizations that, for example, how do you correct these? What about crimes against humanity and so on? How do you address this? Which are the organizations? And in a very simple, very basic format, we have that as well. Just wanted you to know. So now let's get back to the Youth for Human Rights, which is, no matter what, that's got to be the starting point. So let's share with you a couple of the videos. These are 1 minute or less than a minute each, just to give you the basic concept of, so what are human rights? So I'm going to turn it over to Ashan to share with you a couple of those videos. Ashan, let's start with human right number 1.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell which of these children was not born equal? Can you tell which of these children does not deserve to be treated with dignity? We can't either. Human right number 1. We are all born free and equal. What are human rights? Find out at youthforhumanrights.org.
Oh my gosh, I failed the USMLE.
Joe. Steven. Eric, over here. I'll take him right there. Alright, take you. You, right here. Go,
It greeted you at birth. It was there for your first step, your first mistake, your first kiss. It's with you when you win, when you lose, when you pick yourself up again. In every moment, you can feel it. Life. Human right number 3, the right to life. What are human rights? Find out at youthforhumanrights.org.
How's it going? Oh, it's a letter for Nick. Maybe she wants us to get it to her. Nick, read it, read it. Read it, 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 read it. Hey, I think you dropped this.
Good morning. I'm here to read you your rights.
My what?
We are all free and equal. Don't discriminate. You have the right to life.
You have the right to life and to live in freedom and safety.
You have a right to education. You have a right to your own things.
You have the right to social security. You have the right to play.
You have the right to democracy. You have the right to asylum.
You have the right to take responsibility.
And no one and nobody can take these rights and freedoms away from you.
Why are you doing this?
You have a right to know.
Thank you, Ashan. So unfortunately, I have to leave you in about 20 minutes or so, but I'd love to hear from you. So if it's okay, Menashe, maybe you can get a few questions. Why don't we ask for 3 questions and then get all the questions together, and then I'll try and respond to those. And then unfortunately, I have to love and leave you because I have a plane to catch. And well, planes won't wait for me just yet. So please, Menashe, please, would you open the floor and let's get maybe a chat or something. Let's get 3 questions. Let me try and answer those questions. And then I'm going to have to say goodbye.
Yeah, I think we will try to use the opportunity that you have given us for 3 questions as much as possible. So ambassadors, executives, special guests, if you have any questions, please be kind enough to either raise your hand and unmute and ask the question, or for the convenience of everyone, if you could please post your questions on the Zoom chat, that would be great. And if you could do it as soon as possible so that we can accommodate our questions as well as Dr. Shuttleworth's time together, that would be wonderful. Okay, we have one question. What are the effective steps we can implement in making people aware about their human rights?
Excellent. All right, let's get another question.
Sure. So that question
it helps
was
me if
by...
we get 3 questions together, then we'll just put them together and we'll respond, and that's
Right,
easier.
got it. Sure. We will get 3 more questions. So if you have any more questions, like Hiruni before from Sri Lanka, if you have any more questions, please post them to the chat box as soon as possible, and we will have them answered.
Okay, so to facilitate the time here, so let's just answer the effective steps. That's exactly why we put together the program Youth for Human Rights. We made materials that are so easy to use, literally a 5-year-old can use them. I'll tell you a little story. In Australia, there was a little girl, 5 years old, and she stutters. You know what stutter means? It's a but how are you? So, she went to kindergarten, and the kids were bullying her, and her mother was just distraught because the child didn't want to go back to school. There was just no way she was going back to school. The mother then found the Youth for Human Rights program and shared just a few of these little videos, like human right number 1, human right number 2, just the little videos. I mean, this is a 5-year-old. This little girl realized that she has human rights. So those bullies really didn't have the right to bully her. And that gave her the confidence to go back to her school. Her mother shared, the teacher shared those few little videos with all the kindergarten students. And they all realized, oh, we all have human rights. We need to respect human rights. So literally the reason I'm telling you the story is because these little videos that we created are so easy to use. Literally, all you have to do is encourage people to go to our website, watch the little videos if they are very young, if they are older, if they are fellow students or studying, get them to do the online course. It's free. Our materials are available in 27 different languages. So, of course, that's not all the languages in the world. Believe me, I know that. But most people can manage English or French, Chinese. We've got the core languages there, Spanish and so on. So, so use our website, use our online materials, share them. They're on YouTube, as you saw Ashan was showing from YouTube. So just use our materials. But here's really, really, really something I need to share with you. In teaching human rights, we're talking about caring about people. So please don't go from the point of view of just memorizing 30 articles. Please inspire when you teach, inspire when you talk, because when somebody is inspired, they will share it. And we want human rights shared with everybody, everywhere. So, share your stories, share why do you want, it's wonderful that you want to, take steps to teach human rights, but why? Share your passion, share your interest. People get inspired, and then it's so easy to disseminate and to share knowledge when you're passionate about it. So teach with a passion, but the materials are there. It's so easy, and always teach it. That was just a basic step. There's so much more to learn after that. So I hope that answered that question. Let's see if we've got time for 2 more questions.
Yes, so for the interest of making it as diverse as possible to address all questions from all 15 countries, I'm going to just choose from different countries. What is the biggest challenge in upholding human rights besides the institutionalized biasness to perpetrators and the lack of social awareness of their rights?
Wow, that's a big question. Okay, so, and then what's the last question? Because I just want to see if we can combine them. I'm so sorry I'm limited with time, but there's a plane to catch, so there's nothing I can do about it.
Understood, definitely. And we're so glad that you could come for this little time
my
as
pleasure,
well.
My honor.
We have one more
absolutely.
question. Many of the students and parents in my organizations work with juveniles who come from the justice system who are getting into fights. The children feel, this is quite a long question, the children feel like it's a normal thing to fight physically, and they feel as though they are just defending themselves. So
Good.
The question itself is, how can we stop this? I think that's what the question is. How can we stop this belief that it is not, and the fact that it is not normal, not okay to bully or accept bullying, because it's not just being bullied, there is also the concept that you need to bully, that we are battling here as well.
Wow, those are two very, very deep questions.
Yes,
I wish I had a lot more time, because believe me, unfortunately, we see this literally in country after country after country. So these are not unique questions, but excellent questions. Sorry, these buds are a bit loose. So I'm a teacher. So my background is education. None of these human rights issues, none of them can be simplified into, well, if we just do this, it's going to all be handled. These are human rights. Human rights are complex issues. They need to be addressed from many perspectives. But I'm a teacher. So to me, unless we address knowledge, unless we empower people with knowledge, we're going to keep having to put on the band-aids. We're going to keep having to break in the doors to release victims of human trafficking. We're going to have to continue to address issues. So while not for even 1 second do I believe that education is the only solution, I mean, obviously, it's such a foundational issue that we really have to start by teaching, disseminate, promote these human rights on every single channel you can. These little videos, they're available for TV. We'll even provide you for free different formats. If your local TV station needs the videos in a different format or in whatever, communicate with us online. Our contact data is there, and you are all students. The reason you are studying is to improve your lives, to open doors, to make possibilities, to enhance your lives, but also to make it better than it was before. It's education. I'm sorry, I'm a teacher. So we have to see how can we improve. I'm writing down here. The concept that yes, that's okay, or that you should defend yourself, or not even defend yourself, just outright get out there and be aggressive to handle things. Well, the way we're going to address that is, unfortunately, on a gradient slope. Education always takes time, and you're going to move slowly, one step by step by step by step. If you want to learn how to do algebra, geometry, all of these things, you have to first start with the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and so on. And eventually you'll get to where you're going. And I know it takes a long time, but that's real, So as far as the having to handle things with violence, I've never seen a baby do that. Babies were not born with their little fists out. So, you know, I think it was Nelson Mandela who said, we were not, if we were taught to hate, we can also teach to love. And I think it was Nelson Mandela, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to check the quote for yourself, which I think is very beautiful. We can teach people to love. We can. And honestly, discrimination was not born in the heart of a child. No babies were born with their fists clenched. I mean, to fight, of course, you know, their little hands do what they do, but I'm saying to fight. That's just not, it's that baby is somehow taught that. That baby has somehow learned that. That baby has seen it. So we can never unsee. That is true. That's why we do education. You can never unlearn. Once you've learned how to do something, maybe you forget a little bit, but you'll quickly remember. You ride a bicycle, maybe you forget how to do it, but you can relearn it. So the bottom line is education, education, education. Start where you can. Start with a low-hanging fruit. You all know the expression. Start teaching those that you can reach. And you just have to be willing to be patient, just like you are with your own studies. You can't expect to walk into university and graduate the next day. It's not going to happen. But if you just follow the course, if you just keep doing your lessons, show up, you know, do your assignments, you will end up with your degree. You will end up with your master's or doctorate, whichever you're going for. So I hope that's you know, given you some idea. Number one, it's wonderful that you're caring. It's wonderful that you're observing that. We have to, you know, we even use our materials for law enforcement. We even use our materials to train armies. We go into whole armies and actually teach them, you know, these human rights. So it's a matter of just start. Just start. No marathon is ever won without starting. And what we're dealing with here is not, when we're dealing with improving human rights, we are not dealing with a sprint. It is not something we're going to solve in one day or one lesson or one action. It is a marathon. It's a commitment. It's just like your university studies are. It's a commitment. Start where you can, start with whom you can, and a way that you can. And I hope that our little materials can be of value for you, because I'm a teacher. We have to include it, not exclusively, but we have to include education in addressing these issues, whether it has to do with justice and actually, you know, turning things around, or whether it is actually even educating parents, even educating fellow students or the communities. Just start with whoever you can, and it will go. And again, I say, don't teach human rights, inspire human rights. Share your stories and you know, let them know why it's important, and let them really get excited about, wow, yeah, you know, that we should do this. And that's how you actually will manage to inspire others to teach others to teach others. It's through inspiring them, not just memorizing. That is not going to, of course, that's great, but it's not going to really create that trajectory, that absolute impact that you want to create. And in closing, I think there's a message I'd like to leave with every single one of you. Don't ever underestimate yourself. Don't ever underestimate the power that you have to make a difference, to create to help create that world you want to see. When we think of any of the leaders, they all had to start with this great idea of what they saw, the vision they saw, the dream they saw. But they had to take those actions. They had to break it down to doable, small, simple steps, and then they had to do them. So don't ever underestimate yourselves. You can reach your dream slowly, slowly, one step at a time. Always acknowledge forward progress. Whatever we do, we are going to have our ups and downs. We are going to have those times that we say, oh, I'm just going to have to give up because it's just too big. I can't do it on my own. Don't ever just give up. Do not. Learn from that experience. Learn from it. Something happened. What happened? Good. I can get better at that. I didn't communicate it well. I didn't show enough. I didn't explain enough. So every time that you feel that you that you're going to give up, whether it's the studies, whether it's teaching human rights, whether it's whatever it is, use that as a learning experience. There's a lesson there. So be willing to just take a moment and say, well, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And what can I improve? And I just know that every single one of you will with those tools and with your own inspiration and your own dreams, I know that together we can make this world a little less discrimination and a little bit more peaceful. I hope that was helpful. It was wonderful chatting with you. I'm sorry I have to leave. And I wish you a wonderful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shuttleworth. It was an absolute privilege to have you here. And we really, really, on behalf of all 162 of us present here, I really want to appreciate how much effort that you put into coming here at 5:30 in the morning in Los Angeles and to be here and to teach us. For even an hour, I'm pretty sure that all of us here were inspired by you. And we'll definitely use your resources now that we know exactly where to find them. So thank you very much, Dr. Shuttleworth, for joining us, and we really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And now, everyone, I would like to open the moderated Q&A session with Mr. Ashan Pereira. Mr. Pereira, the floor is yours. We have quite a lot of questions from our ambassadors and executives and special guests.
Thank you, Menasha. I mean, that's also inspiring. I think we don't need to answer each and every single question, and we can talk about the international summit that is going to happen in New York, and an opportunity for young people here to come to New York and share your experience when it's come to the work that you are going to do on human rights education. So, but just to give a summary of what she was explaining on human rights, it's about education. In 1948, this is the 75th anniversary of the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. So it's been 75 years introducing these 30 set of human rights. And we believe that these 30 set of human rights are set of responsibilities or set of values that each and every one of us could practice them. And that's the way that we can make our society a better place. Like when you hear, when you hear don't discriminate, you practice it. Like you take that as a responsibility. Right to education, you take that responsibility, something like that. So, so we have a course shared that all of you could just study. But here's the opportunity. In July, we are going to have the International Human Rights Youth Summit. So we'll be selecting, or rather sponsoring, about 2 people from each and every single country exclusively within G17 to come to the United States and then come to the UN headquarters and share what you have been doing on human rights. But we would select young people who are actively taking actions on human rights education, meaning that we want all of you all to use these materials or play the video clips that we just played, go to your classrooms or university or community and try to educate them about their basic human rights. So, and then you could hear so many stories from your communities, and those are the stories that you're going to share at the UN headquarters. So, and if you go to the next slide, I could, so we'll be sharing an email and a contact number, and you can email to this email and request or mention that you are interested in it, and then we will contact you back and share more information about it. And like you saw the pictures in the previous slide, you could use the booklets, DVDs, and if we have enough time, we can ship the free materials to your school or your university or where you are going to do activities within a month or within about 4 weeks. So there is an opportunity like that as well. So this is the opportunity that we want all of you all to take. And I believe that as G17 University Ambassadors Consortium and the ambassadors of G17, you would take this opportunity. And I hope I could see all of you all in New York, not all of you, the ones who are championing human rights education. So yeah, so this is what I want to share. Thank you so much, guys, joining. And if you all have any questions related to the summit, maybe I could answer for that, or you could just talk to your coordinator, national executive, or email us so that we could just answer and talk to you. So, yeah. Thank you so much. If you all have any question on the summit, I could just answer. Maybe not. Perfect. I think all clear. So then I think we can end the session today. And Manisha, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pereira. So ambassadors, special guests, and everyone who took the time to, out of your busy schedules, to join us wherever you are in the world, whether it's morning, afternoon, or night here in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much for joining, and it was an absolute pleasure to have you all here, all 160 of you. I think this is one of the biggest digital university sessions that we've had. So thank you very much for joining, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. As you know from what Mr. Ashan Pereira said about the summit, you have the opportunity to email g17global@gmail.com with any queries, or whether you will like to join the summit as well. Of course, I'm sure all of you would like to join the summit. That is, of course, no question. But if you have any more questions, you can ask your coordinators, your executives, your chairpersons, as well as the global team headed by Mr. Ashan Pereira and Ms. Yasara Ramanayak and everyone else. So you are welcome to contact all of them for further information about the summit. And we look forward to seeing some healthy competition among all of our ambassadors from 15 different countries as to who would join the summit representing G17 University Ambassadors Consortium. That being said, thank you very much again, ladies and gentlemen, for joining our session. I hope you were as inspired by Dr. Shuttleworth as I was, and I hope you will use the resources that are available free of charge on the website that has been shared with you. And we wish you a wonderful day ahead for those who have joined in the morning, and for the rest of you, thank you very much for coming. and look forward to seeing you again at the next Digital University session. Thank you very much.